Shauna. Okay, so you did your whole notary thing. You got your journal, but you never signed in it before. You don't know how to sign in it. Well, I'm going to teach you really quick how to, you know, fill out a notary journal, you know, keep your records straight, because most of the states require you to keep a journal. So let me show you how to properly record into it. So as you see on the screen, first off, I think people are super shy about showing their stuff. Like I do know, like, people's information, is personal information here. You don't want to be seen, but I mean, you can always go to a back page where you can't see people's information and like really show people what's it look like in there. Come on, there you go. You see, it's just one long strip. You have to, when you write in this thing, you're writing all the way across. It's not like you fill up this whole page and then fill up this whole page. No, you're writing, hold on, you're gonna write your first entry, any entry you're gonna do, you're gonna be writing along the whole entire page. So let me show you how you fill this notary journal out, and then also I need to tell you guys some information about it to where you don't mess up, because doing this wrong, doing your notary journal wrong, could get you in some serious trouble, and we want to avoid that. So I'm going to walk you through how to record in your notary journal. Basically, now every state is different in some of its rules, and I'll explain in a second how they go. But say someone called you up, hey, I need a notary, you're at their house. Okay, it's time to start. So first things first, you could ask that person for their ID. That would be nice if they had their ID and you had it with you. But first things first, the first thing you're going to record is the time and date of the notarization. I know your first mind is like, okay, let me see the form that you want me to notarize and check the date. No, not that date. The date and time you're currently notarizing. So today is December 9th. So I'm going to put on here December. Or you don't have to write it out like I just did. You could literally do the abbreviated form. So you can either write it like this, or it's really up to you on that part. But yeah, that's your first thing. You put date, and then you're supposed to put the time. It's currently 4:40 p.m. so you put that 4:40 p.m. You put current date, current time. Next, you're gonna want to do the type of notarization or the type of certificate. Now there's, whoa, what happened there? What happened there? Let's fix that real quick. Okay, so there's only two types of notarizations. You already know this. It's basic 101. You've heard it if you research YouTube. Acknowledgements and jurats. It's going to be one of those two. I'll write into the journal, acknowledge. You're going to want to lag again. Stop lagging. Come on now. Let's make this happen. We're going to write acknowledgement because that's the type of form. Okay, what are you going to write next? The address of where you're performing the notarization. Don't be vague and put like at my office or at client's house. No, put the actual physical address. So if you're at your house doing the notary, put your actual house address. If you're at their house, put their actual house address. If you're at Starbucks, put the Starbucks's actual address. You get me? So for this example, I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3 A, B, C, Lane, Cool Beans. Okay, then you're gonna do like what type or kind of notarization, well, what kind of document, not what to, we already know what type of notarization this is. What kind of document is it? So it should literally, whatever the form is, should have a title on top of it. Just write that title. For instance, we're gonna just say, we're just gonna say a contract. But whatever that title is on that actual piece of paper that they give you, they're gonna give you whatever that paper they want you to notarize. They're gonna give you that paper, and you write the title on top of that contract, on your journal, you know, and then the name and address of the signer. So we're gonna say that our client name is James Doe. That's dark. Let's not do Jane Doe. Jane Doe seems like bad. Jane Smith. We're gonna do Jane Smith. And say we're at her house. We're not at Starbucks. We're not at my business. So her house is 123 ABC. Bam! You're halfway done. You filled out the first part of it. Now we're gonna fill out the back end of it. So the next part is the second part of the page. Now we have the signer's or the customer's or the signer. Yeah, that's fine. The signer's ID. What kind of ID is it? Because we got to make note of what kind of ID we use. It has to be a government issued ID. It can't be, and it has to have a photo because it's a government issued ID. It's going to have a photo, whether it's a driver's license, an ID, a military ID, a passport. It has to be an ID with the physical features you can see and verify this is the same person. It cannot be birth certificates. It can't not be social security numbers. How would you know if that person's social security number is their number? They don't have their face on it. There's no name on it. So, well, there's a name, but there's no face on it. It has to be a government issued ID, identification card. So right here at this point right here, you're gonna put or mark what are, or if the person does not have an ID, you can also do it if you personally know them. So say it's your neighbor you're notarizing. You've been living next to your neighbor for 2 years. You know who your neighbor is. You know that's your neighbor Jane. You've seen her around. You've been knowing her. You can be like, oh, I don't need your ID because I know you. I can attest to who you are. Cool. You mark, I know that person, so I don't need the ID. And you would just write in, say if you know that person, and you just put, you would just write in person, wait, hold on. Yeah, you would just write personally. Okay, you wanna like, you wanna just write personally? No. But say that you don't personally know this person, but they gave you an ID. You're gonna put ID. They gave you some kind of form of government issue ID. Now at this point, different places got different rules. So first off, you're gonna put what type of ID that it was. Whether it was a driver's license, passport, ID card, military ID, you're gonna write that in. So say they gave us a driver's license. Driver's license. There are, in some states, they're perfectly okay with you writing the driver's license number or the ID number. In some states, say for Texas, it is not okay. You should never write the person's actual ID number or actual driver's license number. It's an invasion of privacy per se, because we have privacy laws in here in Texas, so you can never write the ID. Matter of fact, take it one step further. Say you wrote Texas ID. Boom, automatically you can get in trouble for that. Do not even write what state the ID is from. You can't even do that in Texas. Other states it might be okay, so look up the laws in your states, but specifically here in Texas, you can't even specify that if it's a Texas ID, if it's a Oklahoma ID, if it's a Washington ID, you just can't do that. You just, if they gave you ID, put ID. If they gave you passport, put up passport. Now, additional information. Any additional information would be like if you attach the form to the back of the the notarization. Just put I attached the form. Attached form. Which another lag, but it's not necessarily a case where you had to attach the form. Sometimes that blank space will be blank. Sometimes it won't be. Any like relevant information you think you need to add about the whole process, you can add right there. Notary fee is like how much you charge them to do the notarization. So here in Texas, we can charge up to $6 for the initial notarization, and then $1 for every additional signature that we give. However, for this example, I will just put $6 for the notarization notary fee. But say you're like, oh, I also charged a transportation fee. Do I put that on there? No, let's just say notary fee. Do not put transportation fee on here. What you do is when you put transportation fee, you put it in the receipt that you'll give them after the whole ordeal or whole event is over. I'll show you guys how to write up a receipt for your notary visits, or after you're finished with your notary clients. But just in the notary book, you just put the fee for the notary, period. That's it. Now then you have the signer sign the form. Okay, her name was Jane Smith. Cool, you wrote that. Well, she signed her name, Jane Smith. Now the next part, it says write thumbprint of signature. Before you even start this process, you need to know. Here's the thing about the thumbprint. This is why you need to know the laws in your state, because say for instance California. In California, anything that has to do with real estate, it requires the thumbprint of the signer. However, in other states, it's not required. Like there are some states where it's not required at all. You can ask them, hey, can you put your right thumbprint here? They could be like, nah, I'm not doing that. And guess what? They have the right to refuse, and you can't do anything about it. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it, right? But in states like here in Texas, thumbprints are illegal. You cannot do it. Same like you can't put their driver's license ID number or identification number or passport number or the state of which the ID comes from. You cannot put their thumbprint, period. If you see someone in Texas with a notary stamp book with thumbprints in it, they could get in serious trouble. Which brings me to another point. That's basically like here's the thing. These journals, these notary journals are not technically legally, they are public records. They're straight up public records. So what that means is if someone comes up to you and be like, yo, I'm requesting to see your journal. Guess what you have to do? Here you go. Anyone can actually walk up to you and request to see your journal and get to look through it and such. They don't get to keep it, and they have to do it in front of your presence, but they can literally be like, okay, thank you. Yes, public record. You cannot refuse them. You can't be like, no. Why? What you want this for? No, you can't. No, if they ask to see it, anyone, if they ask to see it, you have to hand it over. Which brings me to another point. Say somebody don't like you or have it out for you or whatever. You have an enemy up in these streets, right? Or a fellow notary who is, because the notary world is a little bit more shady than you realize. A fellow notary comes up to you and be like, I would like to see your record. You have to give it to them. And if they go through it and find anything like, oh, she has a fingerprint. Oh, she wrote the guy's driver's license number. They can then report you to the Secretary of State. Yeah. Yes, that is a thing. So that's the reason why these things are important. Like places like Florida and Colorado, technically they don't have to have a notary book, but it's recommended, because if somebody come at you like, yo, I want to press file legal suit against you, and how can you prove your innocence without your book? So it's recommended in those states, but it's not required. But I strongly recommend it. So that's the reason why I say, yo, be careful what you write down in here and make sure you do it right. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. The whole drivers, I don't know all states, but I do know Texas and Montana are the ones that you can't write down their driver's license number. So make sure you look up yours. And that's all from me. That's basically, you're done with your entry. I will be doing a video about how writing a receipt, how you can write your receipt, and I'll catch you guys later.